Hello and welcome to New World Review, where we take your favorite mangas and animes and turn them into your worst nightmare. That's right, I'll take the sense of victory you feel at managing to pass that exam and turn it into literally a burning husk of sadness at the finish line of horror, leaving you unsmiling and alone like Hisoka at a baseball match. It's me, Grand Line Waifu, ready to give you a review of episodes 12 and 14, queens. I have been advised that episode 13 is a recap episode, so while I may watch it for my benefit, I think it would be boring for you to hear me review 12 episodes of previous content as one new episode. But hey, for those who don't like me only reviewing 2 episodes at a time because of how long it will take to finish this series, that means there are only 133 episodes worth of review to go. Also, I'm bad at math, so if that's incorrect, meh. Thank you for the feedback you gave, give, and will give. I really appreciate it all. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, and tasting, please hit that happy, joy up thumb. If not, hit that miserable down thumb. Now, on with the episode. There will be spoilers. Many. This is a review. Expect no, hang on. Episode 12 was not as much montage as I was expecting it to be. Leordio's consistent comic relief was on display, and I'm starting to wonder whether he has some serious blood pressure issues. It was great for us to see his thought processes, the strain of knowing he'd messed up and the guilt of ruining things for others was good, but we didn't go far enough into it, and because nothing came of it, I was left hoping it'll set something up for the future rather than being a bit of filler thought content now. That said, I feel like the series overall has so far come through on thought processes that get set up and knocked down. But we'll come back to Gon and Hisoka's love story in a bit. I realise now that a focus of the episode was on the relationships that are building between very specific characters. First up, we've got the relationship between Gon and Killua, which is that of a couple of kids having a great time, except one of them is an assassin, the other an innocent sociopath. Their bond is growing and I appreciate and respect it. It's fine. Everything's fine and it'll work out just fine. It's not fine. It's becoming more and more clear that as the numbers of the exam drop, competition is going to become a serious concern. That said, I may well have missed some information, but I don't think we've been told yet how many can pass the exam, so it's entirely possible that this competition is something they could fight for right to the end. Speaking of fighting right to the end, Tonpa had a 180-degree change of heart this episode. Up until now, he hasn't trusted anyone, and every reflective moment has been about showing how much trickery he can pull to ruin other examinees' chances. I don't know if it's a 180 or that he's never actually had people force him into allyship, but there was something very particular about the way he mentally responded to Leorio. Saying that the lack of trust between Leorio and Tonpa is mutual suggests a couple of things, given it was in his mind. It suggests to me that he somewhat trusts the rest of the party. It also suggests that he's slowly coming to feel as though he is part of the group, despite deciding to attack Leorio at the final hurdle. But that's the point, I suppose, isn't it? He decides to attack Leorio very specifically. Does Tonpa feel that if he got rid of Leorio, he could take Leorio's place in the group and potentially finish the exam? We don't get any further insight really into Tonpa beyond that, but the similarity between the two is very clearly shown in their 69. They are well-balanced opponents, one a healer, one a poisoner, to return to episode 2. If Tonpa wanted, he could probably be a decent healer. He has the insight required to be a good guy, the ability to read situations the others don't, and he seems, at this point, to be beginning to find the antics of our main characters somewhat endearing. On that point, I did stop to consider the title of the episode, The Last Test of Resolve. Whose resolve is being tested in this episode? Arguably Tonpa's, which is so annoying for me as someone who repeatedly tried to dismiss him. I don't get it right every time, I guess. It's very clear, and everyone in that tiny space at the end knows, if Killua wants Gon to get to the end of the exam, Killua and Gon will get to the end of the exam. That's not a test of resolve. It's a fact. And everyone just dismisses Kurapika. He's like that person who manages to fly under the radar in every season of Big Brother just to sneak up and win at the end. I was honestly a little surprised when Leorio didn't sacrifice himself out of guilt, because I thought that's what we'd been building toward with Tonpa for the last 2 episodes. I guess we'll just keep building that guilt until it ferments into something else or fizzles out. Now, before I forget, Hisoka and Gon. That tiny smile of Hisoka's that came from Gon and the others stepping out and completing the exam was so beautifully subtle. It showed Hisoka's investment in Gon and the party. It showed exactly who he was waiting for and watching for every time a door opened. The small nick to his clothes, the small wound he took a few episodes ago, is almost a metaphor for the opening we're seeing into his personality and true self. Despite being a self-isolating character, he very much seems to enjoy and want to enjoy the company of his competition. He doesn't doesn't want to be friends with Gon, or maybe he does, but in a competitive manner. No one else who walks out gets that tiny response from Hisoka, which tells me that there is only one other person he respects in this exam. Basically, Hisoka has an ability crush on Gon, which Gon, of course, will be able to leverage later in the exam. I can't wait to see how it plays out. Before we move on to episode 14, I just have to say, pincushion guy. What is that eating method? He's like a rabbit or a squirrel. It reminds me of me eating wafers when I was 6 after watching my babysitter's rabbit eat carrots. Whenever I worry that I'm weird, I can think back to that guy nomming a whatever it was he nommed. It was weird. Episode 14. Okay, so this episode was very hit and miss for me, pun intended, and I think it confused me more than I'd like to admit. Basically, child enters Hunter exam. Child progresses to 4th phase of Hunter exam. Child realizes at 4th phase that it's necessary to hunt in order to pass Hunter exam. Child forgets that hunting also means being hunted. Hunter squared. We're whittling down the examinees. Hunter by Hunter. I think I've cracked the title of the show now in the same way that Gon has finally cracked the entire purpose of the exam. About time. I suppose, to be fair, episode 12 was all about testing the resolve of the examinees, seeing whether they really wanted what they were there for, and testing whether they could stand up to the challenges put forth. The first phase tested their physical stamina, the second their sense of risk-taking, the third their resolve, and the fourth their actual ability to hunt. It makes sense, I suppose, if you look at it that way, and this would be the phase that Gon is the least equipped to deal with. If I were that guy in the bushes, though, I'd have already taken Gon's tag while he was sleeping out in the open on his back. I mean, maybe Gon was smart enough to hide it somewhere away from him, but it seemed so odd for the other hunter to just watch and wait when the child was literally asleep. It's almost like he didn't want to win. Or maybe it's a case of being so cocky he wants to see whether the kid gets better before trying to take the win away from him. Anyway, this episode was very much about Gon learning to hunt, going through the motions. It somewhat worried and surprised me that he didn't have a concept of hunting before. What did he think hunters did? Why did he think they did what they did? How did he think they got what they wanted or what they got? I think the thing I'm struggling with is that this highly perceptive sociopathic kid didn't know how to hunt. Every step of this exam makes him more dangerous, honing his skills, which is the point, right? You either learn quickly during the exam or you fail it. But he really should have known that he's a hunter. And the aim is to become a hunter, and the aim is to know how to hunt. That's odd to me. Oh, another thing that's interesting to look at, the use of time. Episode 12 was all about wasting time, about having too much and nothing to do. Time was wasted when we look back, and in the context of that episode too, we realize Gon is used to baiting and catching characters, but only static or easy ones. This episode is his level up montage, where he diversifies his skills. He knows he can't win in direct combat, but our little sociopath is excited by the idea of going up against his greatest competitor. He's crazy. I don't honestly know how it's going to go, but I'm very interested to see whether Gon tries and fails, but Hisoka just gives him the tag because Hisoka's enamored with him, or if he'll actually manage to get it. At this point, it's probably fair to say that Gon, Leorio, Kurapika, and Killua have some plot armor, since they're heavily featured in the credits sequence, but also because everything we've done has focused on them. I'd also, however, argue that Hisoka has the same plot armor, so it'll be exciting to see how this is resolved, since I have no doubt Hisoka will get through this phase. This is the phase I would expect Hisoka to be naturally strong at. In an odd, possibly concerning way, I feel kinship with Hisoka. If I were him, I would probably chill until maybe 4 days into the exam and simply go around killing and knocking out people who have collected tags from others. It wouldn't be so difficult to do. Not as Hisoka. Then again, to combat that mentality, as a hunter I would also hide my collected tags so that even if someone tried to hit me up, they'd get nothing. And I think that's an important thing for me at this point, because this is the first time I've actually taken a direct interest in how I would pass the exam myself, besides alluding to possible ways through the last phase. Here, episode 14, to me, is the crux of being a hunter. It's what I think of if someone says hunter exam. The rest didn't need deep thought or consideration, I guess. It was the simplest of actions. Survive, run, climb, breathe, focus, fight. All those things are finally built to this phase, and that is a nice preparation for the next. Because if the players can prove their ability to hunt in this way, what's the next phase? What is there left to test? Finally, I feel curiosity about the Hunter exam, and it only took 14 episodes of exam content for me to care about how the exam is affecting the characters and how the content is itself developing. It's been a long, long road, but we're finally here. I guess to a certain degree, this is the point at which I have leveled up as well. I know enough about these primary characters to be able to anticipate, to some degree, their behaviors, to understand their backstories, to experience their strengths and failures and see them grow. The Gon we encountered in episode 1 is not the Gon we encounter now. The Leorio we met in episode 1 is also not the same as the one we know now. Kurapika has not changed at all on the outside, though I wonder how much has changed on the inside since Killwa's question about whether he is afraid to kill. It was a small question, but one that I'm hoping comes back. We can see that Hisoka isn't perfect and that Gon has noticed this. The tears in his clothes got a nice shot indicating basic learning that he is fallible. Killua has changed, though we didn't see what he was before. Not properly. Now we know that he cares about Gon, and we'll see how that develops. I sense we're coming to the end of an arc, and it's got a nice sense of completeness overall. I'm glad I've stuck around to watch this far. It was touch and go with some of the earlier ones, but let's see where this ride goes. For now, that's it from me. If you enjoyed this video and the content this channel produces in general, please do consider donating to the New World Review Patreon, because the support of all you amazing people is what continues to make this channel possible. If Patreon isn't quite your style, then please do leave this video a like, share, or subscribe, because it also helps support the channel an incredible amount. And if you'd like to join the fun, then please do head over to the Discord server where a wide array of shenaniganry takes place on a daily basis. And finally, please do comment with your thoughts on episodes 12 and 13 of Hunter x Hunter. This has been the New World Review, and I'll see you next time.